Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Jerry. Joining me for this segment, I've got Max and Terry, and we're going to talk about Everton's incoming manager, who is probably the incoming manager, is what everyone's saying, Carlo Ancelotti. This is a thing that is happening, and it feels very surreal. Doesn't feel concrete yet. I'm still coming to terms with it. So let's make this more real. Let's think about, because we're getting a lot of publications out there voicing their opinions about that, and the vibe a lot of us are getting is it's very stay in your lane. You shouldn't be hiring this guy. I remember the ESPN writer a while back said Everton needs to realize Moyes is the best they can do. And I don't really know what to do with that statement, except wipe my ass with it. But with Ancelotti here, guys, it's interesting because he is a guy who's coming off not the best situation in Napoli, all right? But he's Carlo Ancelotti, all right? So let's examine the good and the bad, all right? Let's think about what could work, what could not, where are the red flags, where are the green flags, all right? Let's figure this out, all right? So I don't know which one of you started last time, so I'm just going to arbitrarily give it. Oh, Terry started. Oh, so Max, give me some positives. Give me one positive about Ancelotti for Everton, besides the obvious stuff.
Besides the obvious stuff, the fine obvious stuff.
Yeah, you're right. That is. I guess it's the fact that he has managed and won Champions League at AC Milan and Real Madrid, and he's just massive. He's a massive. It's a massive take for us to actually get him to sign for us.
Yeah,
so there's that. Now go into the other more detailed stuff.
Because my simple one-word response to, what are the good things about this? Maybe one-word response would have just been trophies. Trophies. And I was speaking to someone earlier, and I was saying what I find particularly interesting about this is you go back to 2013. We've just lost David Moyes to Manchester United, still in dire need of silverware as we are today. And the first person that we turn to is the manager who just won the FA Cup, albeit got relegated with Wigan Athletic, Roberto Martinez. Now, fast forward almost 2020, even though we see him in a worse off position than we were at that time, we're managing to bring in the godfather of football management. Carlo Ancelotti, the only manager to have won 3 Champions League titles. It's absolutely surreal. I did, just in my research before coming on, I did my little kind of look up at all the trophies that he's won, and it's just astonishing. It really is. Particularly with Milan in 8 years, eight major honours. Yeah. It is very, very impressive. That aside, some of the little things that I picked up on as really positives that we could look to draw if he does get appointed. I still won't believe it until he's got a scarf above his head. But from an individual perspective, the players that he's worked with individually, you go back to his days when he's managing Parma, he's managing the likes of Buffon, Cannavaro, Baggio. You fast forward through that. You go to his Milan day. He had Zidane at Juventus. Go to Milan, you've got Shevchenko, Maldini, Nesta. Just on from a football football historian's perspective, these are some of the greatest footballers to play ever. Mm-hmm. And from an Everton perspective, I think something that's interesting is we are, albeit 4 years after the investment from Machiri, we're still dubbed as a project club. And if my research served me correctly, he was the first manager appointed by PSG following the investment from the Qatari Sports Investment Group. So although he did leave after 1 season to go to Real Madrid, and he won the French league in that time, that bodes well fingers crossed he comes in with, a clear idea of what he wants to do. And one of the things I think he needs to have in mind is the development of players such as Moise Keane, who I think he might be a godsend for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you trust Twitter from several places, they talk about how he's a big fan of Moise Keane. So there's that. Terry, your opening thoughts, and then I'll mention some things and I'll get that I've been researching, and I'll get your comments on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, isn't it? He's easily the biggest profile managerial appointment we'll ever make. He's won everything there is to win. Massive profile. This seems like the kind of appointment that Moshiri would have liked to have made to begin with after Martinez, but probably wasn't within our grasp or within our remit at that time. The fact that he is now is just sort of a happy accident of circumstance. He's been sacked by Napoli, and even that was a sort of step down job for him, and we're still having to pay quite a bit of money to bridge the gap. Doesn't bother me at all, but that's the sort of all the things that have been in play to make this happen. I think it'd be, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll always be able to go out and get another Silva type manager, someone like that. As long as the club's in the Premier League, it's got a big enough badge and a big enough name that these young aspiring managers will always be attracted to the club. But we won't always be able to go out and get a manager like Ancelotti. So to not take that up when it's there would just be foolish. And if you've got the money, which we have, like Moshiri seems intent to attract this type of caliber of person to the club, then by why not? I think as well it'll be someone who will unite the supporters in a large way, because it's the first manager for a long time, probably since Moyes left, or actually since Martinez's first season, where every single supporter will probably be, for the most part, behind the manager. Not in the sense of they weren't behind the other ones, but there were people who weren't convinced about Marco Silva for what he'd done before he came to the club. A lot of people didn't like Sam Allardyce. A lot of people didn't like Koeman. Ancelotti, with his track record of success, I think that's something supporters can be really, really, excited by and enthused by, and just we'll see where it goes.
So yeah, good stuff from you guys on that. I'm gonna run through some stuff. We'll kind of move on from there. So I did a little research on the interwebs. And Ancelotti does enjoy running a 4-4-2, but it's sort of a hybrid. So he adjusts it. There is some tactical flexibility from the guy when it comes to how he adjusts the 4-4-2 and that kind of thing. Apparently that flexibility is a good thing. So that's nice. He's calm. He's like a calm man-manager type. All right. He's very respectful of his players. His players love him. All right. And because of that, and because of his stature, he's probably going to draw better players during the transfer windows. That is good too. And one other thing that we can't ignore, because we are Everton and we have, shite across town, right? Napoli played very well against Liverpool in Champions League almost every time. All right? So that's good. I like that. I think it's just one more little positive. So there's a lot of good stuff about Ancelotti coming in. But then we talk about the possibilities. I was listening to an interview with David Amoyal, and he talked about how he actually is a little concerned about this appointment. And this is another journalist voicing a concern. All right, but he didn't say, no, Everton shouldn't do this. That was the difference. He was saying, there are some red flags for me. He was saying that they talk about how there's complaints that his practices were a little slack. It's not really strong on discipline. All right, and what you've got in Duncan Ferguson, you get the exact opposite in Ancelotti. One's like all energy and the other one's very chill. Like like a Godfather. One is like, I guess that's like Sonny. Yeah, I'm just do all this Godfather references. But yeah, and so he's very like chill. But his son, actually going back to his son, apparently I guess it's Davide, runs a lot of the practices during the week, and that was another complaint. So it's sort of like what you hear everybody saying is he typically goes into really strong sides and he does little tactical tweaks to make them stronger, and that's what he normally does. So this is a different type of gig for him. All right, that's sort of that's why a lot of these people are saying, I'm not sure if this is the best fit. All right. However, it's hard for me to listen to people when they say that it's only about name recognition and us wanting to throw the money and we're all starstruck and that kind of thing. I don't like that. I think this may be the best possible manager we could get at the moment in terms of experience, right? So are you guys? So I think all three of us agree that the pros outweigh the cons here, right? Do any of those red flags that you've heard about? I mean, I'm sure you may have heard others. Do any of the red flags concern you at all? Anything we need to think about as we're moving in and wrapping up the segment?
The point you made about kind of, Ferguson and Ancelotti being, polar opposites. Hopefully, touch wood, that works in tandem and can possibly,
I was hoping so.
Balance itself out. A red flag that you didn't mention that drew my attention was I've heard the contract offered to him is only until 2022. So that would mean no Bramley Murdoch, which obviously kind of infers that wasn't part of the motivations for him. You'd imagine a managerial appointment, that prospect of, being manager at the time and moving into Bramley Murdoch. Who knows? He might get it. If things go well, he might get an extension. But that does seem like really, strategic placement in my estimation. Yeah, as you say, Jerry, in my opinion, the pros outweigh the cons.
Terence, Terrell.
Well, I've actually heard that I've read that the contract's till 2024, so we don't really know yet how long it really is. But yeah, I mean, I suppose if you're looking at a con, the laid back training thing, isn't good because that's the kind of thing that festers, and these players, whether you say this has made a difference or not, but they've gone from a lot of these players were brought in by Silva. And he's apparently the opposite. He trains constantly and works on things constantly, and he's never out of the training grounds and all that. Now to suddenly switch and go to a very laid back manager who takes things easy and whatnot, it might not jive with a squad that isn't as that would work at a Madrid where the base level is fantastic and they're all world class players. We're at a club and a squad that needs a lot of attention, a lot of working with a lot of moulding, because a lot of the players are still very new. Remember, to the club, haven't even had a full season here yet. I don't know if he is like that. It's not might not be like that here, but if he is like that, it might not be the best thing. But it's not something that would put me off hiring him. But if you ask me for a con, that's one, training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. It's such a weird time. I one of the things that for me epitomized the silver reign was I almost felt like we were too calm during matches. There was there wasn't like a sense of urgency. We weren't playing super quickly, and that's one of the things that I feel like we've seen in spurts during Duncan's reign. These stretches of like 20 minutes where it's like guns blazing, it's a firefight, you know what I mean? It's just everywhere. And you get that intensity and that urgency, and it's everything. It's chests open, guts pouring out, and that's what we're getting there. And you wonder, like, if there's a way to bring... it's weird because emotional intelligence related to still being inspired and high energy, because a lot of times I've seen players be so inspired, so high energy, and then they make silly mental mistakes and they get overridden. It's a common thing. So that's one of the reasons why, the calmer head eventually is a good thing. So I'm hoping it's a nice marriage, Max, like you were mentioning. I'm hoping you put them together. You've got the calm and you got the
Yeah.
That's a term now.
I think from an individual player perspective, if you can't find inspiration or discipline from playing under Carlo Ancelotti, I think the problem lies with the players.
One would think, right?
I think as an organisation for a good couple of years now, Everton really are, and I wouldn't say this lightly, we're in some sort of crisis in regards to leadership. And bringing in a man who is respected as Carlo Ancelotti may very well go a long way to solving that.
Can I make one last question to you guys before we wrap up?
Go ahead.
Let's pretend that this Ibrahimovic Zlatan stuff is real. For 1 second. Let's just pretend. Dilly-doo, 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 all Wayne's World like. So, we were talking off camera about this, but let's quickly sum up. Terry, what circumstances are we okay if Zlatan ends up wearing blue at some point this season? Because I thought you summed up what my feelings were.
If we somehow, find a magic wand and we can shift a lot of the deadwood in the squad that we've been trying to shift for a while anyway. So if you end up getting rid of, Nias, Tosin, Martinez, Schneiderlin, players like who really haven't got much of a future at the club, and if we're playing 4-4-2 and we end up with 4 strikers and they're Keane, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin and Ibrahimovic, then I'm okay with it, because in that regard you've got like a little bit of everything. You've got pace, you've got strength, you've got obviously the technique of Ibrahimovic. That would be brilliant, because then you've got different strikers with different types of opposition. If you're playing a team who sit in with a low block and are really rigid and don't come out from their 6-yard box, then you play Ibrahimovic. He can unlock those defences. He's got the physicality, he's got the quality to do that. If you're playing a team that's a little bit better and plays a really high line, then he's not going to be much use. It's going to be, you'd need to look to the Calvert-Lewins and the Richarlisons more for that. But there's a lot of ifs and buts and maybes there. At the minute we aren't just going to be able to get rid of Nias and Tosin. We've been trying to for ages and we can't. Ibrahimovic might not come in for reasonable money, and we're trying to get the wage bill down regardless of the new manager coming in. We've still got to not just forget about the reality of our situation. Basically if a certain amount of criteria are met, then I'm all for it, but there's a lot of things that need to be met beforehand, and I don't know. I just feel like it's a bit of a vanity signing if it is true, unless those things were to happen, all those players were to be shifted to make the room.
A lot of jerseys getting sold, a lot of shirts. He sold more in MLS than any other player. Then again, that's MLS. Yeah, but just saying. That's
MLS. Like I would argue that Rooney could have sold more shirts at Everton than Ibrahimovic, and did he? Like I wouldn't. No to be honest, as far as I'm aware, I don't think the amount of shirts we sell makes a difference. We get the money up front, so we just be making money for fanatics. But it would be, it's a little bit if you turned around and goes, Ibrahimovic, he's a quality player. Like, seen him score world-class goals all his career. But it does feel a little bit like the Rooney signing or the Eto'o signing, where it's just a bit of a, the press conference and the reveal is more than the actual what you get on the pitch. If it's true, which I don't believe it is, for the record.
This guy's nearly my age. I'm just saying, and that ain't super young. That ain't really playing age. Just saying.
Well, I'm 50, so he's a young lad to me, isn't he? So
I'm 50. Wow. Max, weigh in briefly. Yeah. I know you have some reservations as to the truth of this one, but go ahead.
Just to add a bit of, I don't know, a bit of meat to it, I was just scouring Instagram then, because I know it recently got announced that Zlatan's invested in a Swedish football team, if I'm not wrong. I was just kind of scouring Instagram to try and find what team that was. I don't know, as I said to you off camera, wage budgets exist, and I don't care if he took a 95% cut to his usual salary to play for LA Galaxy. Doesn't seem real, and I don't want to waste the energy, to be honest with you, Jerry. I just can you picture Zlatan Ibrahimovic? Could you picture Zlatan Ibrahimovic living in like Formby or Crosby or something?
It's such a strange fit, man. It's such a strange fit.
I don't know. It's just no. As you say, it'd be great commercially for the club, but nah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mentioned it to my oldest, Bennett, who knows who Zlatan is. And this was his face. And he didn't talk for like 30 seconds.
How many people would just be running to get the kit to put his name on the back? That's all it'd be for.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean, yeah.
Do you remember when we signed Cenk Tosun, and then the video online of the club shop, and they printed loads of, templates of his name, and they'd spelled it wrong. Oh, they can't spell Tosun. They're going to struggle with Ibrahimovic.
Oh my gosh. Maybe they just need to put Zlatan on the back anyway. Well, I mean, he should do that. That's totally something he should do. Just throw the first name on the back, Why not?
Aye.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up. So there's some good and some bad about Ancelotti, but I think all three of us are on the hey, let's do this bandwagon. Yeah, but I mean, it's not a, to use basketball metaphor, it's not a slam dunk. It's not an easy. It's not a gopher. It's not definitely going to work. But I think it is a gamble that I think is worth taking. So let's do this. All right. And it's less of a gamble than all the other gambles we would have had, because I think they all would have been gambles, right, guys? So anyway, that's it for our Ancelotti segment. If you're digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. If you want more Max, check out the Carlisle podcast, where he talks a lot about careers in football. And if you're somebody who's thinking, I would one day like one of those, that's a good resource. All right? It's Max interviewing people in the industry. That's one of the first places I would go if I were you. So check that out. You can find information on his Twitter. Follow the Carlisle podcast on Twitter as well. All right. Also, Terry throws his brain droppings onto the Liverpool Echo fan jury. It's all about Everton, and they let him do it. So apparently there's some value there. Just saying. Also value, Terry hugs. Do it. No, do it. Really. Okay, so that's it, gentlemen. Thank you very much. It's good to see you. Terry, thanks a lot, man.
Take it easy, guys.
Max, as always, my friend, appreciate it.
Pleasure.
And for all you other people out there, I really want to tear Arsenal apart coming up this weekend, so let's go. Bye. Come on, Carlo.